I don't know.
Congress is now reconvened after a brief recess, getting some amendments placed in front of us in a different document. We will vote to adopt the documents that are in the journal, though. This other one was put in front of you to help you understand and give you better clarity. So the first amendment to ONCA 1594, page 1, line 28, insert, quote, Business Board 1, end quote, means any board or other entity created by legislation which has a managerial or governance function over an enterprise in existence for less than 3 years. This definition includes entities that are successors to previous entities and/or have had assets transferred from previous Osage Nation entities. Quote, Business Board 2, close quote, means any board or other entity created by legislation or appointed by the principal chief whose net revenue is between $1 million and $5 million, parentheses, 1 million numerical and 5 million numerical, into parentheses, period. Quote, Business Board 3, end quote, means any board or other entity created by legislation or appointed by the principal chief whose net revenue is less than $1 million, and then the parenthetical $1 million is numerical, period. That's the first amendment, Congresswoman Edwards.
I have an amendment to the amendment. Amendment number 1. Enterprise Board 1 means any board or other entity created by legislation which has an oversight function over an enterprise in existence for less than 3 years. This definition includes entities that are successors to previous entities and/or have had assets transferred from a previous Osage Nation entity. Enterprise Board 2 means any board or other entity created by legislation which has an oversight function over an enterprise whose net revenue is between $1 and $5 million. Enterprise Board 3 means any board or other entity created by legislation which has an oversight function over an enterprise whose net revenue is less than $1 million. Enterprise Board 4 means any board or other entity created by legislation which has an oversight function over an enterprise whose net revenue is more than $5 million.
Is there a second to the amendment to the motion, to the amendment? Looking for a second. Is there a second to the amendment to the amendment? Seeing none, the amendment to the amendment doesn't formulate, so we are back to the original amendment. We're in discussion on the original amendment. Any discussion? Congresswoman Edwards.
This is a bill that had low priority because it's not an appropriations bill, so under our rules, appropriations bills take precedent. So as a preliminary matter, I'm not sure how it got all the way out to the floor before the appropriations bills. And it probably be sent back to committee, or it could rest here waiting for appropriations bills. Either way, for several years we have discussed the fact that we created one category or two categories of business boards that all, under the law, all get the same level of compensation. And what that's done is created a situation where we have an entity with a board that's losing money year after year. We have an entity with a board that's making good money. We have an entity with a board that's, finding its way. We have a brand new entity. So this seeks to divide out the boards into categories of business boards, whereby a board of a startup company, for example, would get greater compensation, I believe, or we could consider it at least, because it's a startup board and they're having to do a lot of startup work. Whereas a board that's maybe been invested for 6 years and still is struggling or not making $1 million for the entity, at some point that compensation, you can adjust that compensation to reflect, okay, this is a board that is not having to, or is not having success. And then those boards that are having, those entities that are having success, well, their boards are compensated for that success. So it's a business model rather than the model that I think we've developed now, which is just everybody in a business sense gets the same amount of money. So there's an incentive as a board member to have your business entity be successful economically. It also recognizes that in the beginning, there are startup issues, and the boards will have to work harder in the beginning because they're creating a new entity. So that's the point of that amendment.
Congressman Walker.
So I guess after 3 years, they graduate to either Business Board 2 or Business Board 3.
Or Business Board 4, which,
Business Board 4 is part of the first amendment. It's the amendment.
well, there's a 4, that's why it needed a 4, and that's why the amendment to the amendment was made, because in the law, it's, Business Board is still there, it needed a 4. So my amendment to the amendment added a 4, but it didn't get a second.
Congresswoman Upload.
I feel like this discussion is important. I think it's needed. I think everyone agrees that if you haven't paid any attention to boards and commissions and the stipends and pay that boards and commissions get across the board, you should be, because I've been looking at it and making notes the other day, and it's a big old mess. Some boards have an extra bit of money for the chair, some don't. Their budgets were all turned in different. But I think that this discussion belongs in the committee and not right here. So I'll make a motion to commit ONCA 15, what is it, 94 back to the committee of jurisdiction so that these discussions can happen.
I have a motion seconded by Congresswoman Pratt to commit ONCA 1594 back to the Committee of Jurisdiction. Any discussion to that motion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Are there any opposed?
No.
Let's have a roll call vote.
Congressman Hamilton,
Yes.
Congressman Yak,
No.
Congressman Maker,
Yes.
Congressman Mason,
Yes.
Congresswoman Pratt, yes, Congressman Shaw, Congressman Sigal,
Yes.
Congressman Walker,
Yes.
Congresswoman Bucklehead,
Yes.
Congresswoman Edwards,
Yes.
Speaker Whitehorn,
Yes. ONCA 1594 is committed back to the Committee of Jurisdiction. That concludes bills and resolutions on General Order Day 3. We are now in motions and notices. Are there any motions or notices? Congressman Yak.
Appropriations will be meeting with all of the sessions.
Thank you, sir. Congressman Mason.
Education is meeting at 1 o'clock today.
Thank you, sir. Congresswoman Pratt.
It's not on the agenda, but culture is meeting at 4 today.
Sorry that got left off of the agenda. When is your meeting scheduled? 4 to 5:30. 4 to 5:30, okay, thank you. Congressman Walker.
Governmental operations meets today from 2 to 4.
Thank you, sir. Any more motions or notices, Congresswoman Edwards?
I'd like to move to go into the committee of the whole to discuss 2 matters. One is hiring a professional to review the financial plans and loan proposal regarding the proposed 2016 annual plan of operation. And the other is to discuss the Congress hiring a professional to review the market survey process that we're utilizing to determine local, or to determine the range of wages that are offered and also wage increases.
Do you mind restating the first part, is the financial plan for?
The financial plan and loan, proposed loan.
I have a motion on the floor to enter into the committee of the whole for purposes stated by Congressman Edwards. Is there a second to the motion? Second from Congressman Shaw. Is there any discussion? All in favor of entering into the committee of the whole, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are now in the committee of the whole. Congressman Edwards.
Well, our process that we have internally is that a committee, or, I can't remember, I think the speaker or second speaker, I can't remember, individual members, can request of the Congressional Affairs Committee to authorize the hiring of a professional to do a certain task. And I think we're getting close to the end of session, and I don't know that there's too many more Congressional Affairs meetings happening, so I thought we should talk about this process and perhaps even have the Congress authorize it so that we can get underway if that's what the Congress wants to do. My first consideration is the annual plan of operation. The proposed annual plan of operation contains a proposed loan plan in it, as well as some financial information as to projections for being able to repay any loan that we borrow. And frankly, I'm not comfortable and don't feel like I have enough expertise to tell you whether that plan is sound or whether it has some loopholes, what are the pitfalls that might be in there. And we haven't heard from anyone outside of the organization and a couple of board members on that point. So I feel like when we're talking about a loan, the amount that it is, that we need to get some more people involved. And I would like Congress to have a spokesperson, to have a professional, either an attorney or some other qualified professional to help us, sit with us and help us understand what's going on. So that's the purpose of my reason for planning this discussion, to hear from other people.
Congressman Supernall.
Well, we discussed this in the from the comment committee. Is that what you heard?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Congressman, because of these air ducts in here.
Oh, okay.
I heard it from you several days ago, and I agree with you. But I'm worried that the process is going to get bogged down, so I wanted to bring it here to perhaps get a resolution among the whole Congress.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I was an existing motion to send to the CA committee, but this may speed it up. I was looking at this as two separate issues. One, Maria, I think, made a motion to send this to CNA to have a professional go over the financing documents in Europe. And I was going to suggest that we get someone else to go over a projection on a return on investment. And I had already talked to Finley and Cook, because they do things like that, although I'm not suggesting they do it. I was just asking them to give me some guidance on how we should go about getting a second opinion on that. So, but I'm in favor of this. I'm in favor of the financial documents, was even in the process, some people have even mentioned, tribal economic development bonds, and I don't think that's part of the package. I don't know if that's feasible, I don't know much about it, but because I don't, I think we, and I don't think anyone else does either, I think we should get a second opinion on the financing package. That's my 2 cents.
Congresswoman Edwards.
Well, again, waiting to hear from others, but I was thinking that perhaps after we get out of the committee of the whole, I would make a motion to request that legal counsel formulate a motion for tomorrow for Congress to consider that included hiring a professional to review the financing, post-financing documents, and also then hiring a professional to review and give recommendations concerning the projection of return on investment.
Congressman Neighbor.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but do we have the money available, financing to hire a professional consultant?
We keep money in our professional fees line item for specific purposes such as this, so I believe we're doing okay.
We haven't available funds.
I do believe we have available funds. Our, as of October 1st, our budget will be approved. It's been signed already. So
Thank you.
I don't think we'll move any faster than that, getting somebody engaged. Any more discussion? Congressman, yeah.
I support this, we need to do our due diligence, but I just stated in the committee the other day that I just want to make sure that we're not paying to have something done that they've already paid to have done by an independent professional, somebody independent of the board, just because we didn't like the opinion that they gave. And I don't know if that's been done or not. I just want to make sure that before we go and spend more money to have something done that the board has already had done, or the management has already had done. But I think we do need to make sure that you know what we're looking at.
I think that in the committee, we made a motion to request those documents from the board. We gave the chair the authority to ask for those documents, so those should be coming after he makes the request, although I do believe that we need one independent of what they've done. So, Congresswoman Pratt, did I see your hand?
Okay, I was basically gonna say that we had discussed requesting the document, basically what you just said, requesting the documents, but going ahead, so I guess if everybody was gonna vote on it, then they would know that we're going to vote to do it regardless of what the documents we get from.
Did I see a hand over here, Congresswoman Edwards?
Well, I've sat in those meetings and I've seen the presentation to date that's been made, and I'm just not comfortable with what I'm hearing and getting, and I'm not comfortable that I know enough to know what I've gotten and heard. So I would like to be able to have someone available to me, you know, on a regular basis to contact and say, what does this mean? And to go through this with us on our terms, I guess I should say, because I really don't feel like to date I'm getting the information that I need, and it's not coming to me in a manner that I'm comfortable with. So I want to make sure, I can't vote for this plan right now. It's coming too fast, and to me, you know, getting an email that says, time to decide, come on, we're talking a lot of money, and we've got 12 people that need to be satisfied that we understand what's happening, and I just don't think that under our current process we're getting there.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Congressman Superdome.
I had been instructed by the committee to send a letter to the Gaming Enterprise Board to see if they'd had a professional review those documents. And I'm assuming that they did, but my concern was, and I'm going to do that, that even if they say they did, and I repeat what I said in the committee, I think it's not a good idea for something this large, that for this Congress to rely on getting we need to get our own review, and so that's why I'm for this.
Is there any more discussion on this topic about the financial plan that's in the annual plan? I believe the other purpose was,
Projection of return on investment.
pardon me?
The second subject was the projection of return on investment.
Okay. Is there any discussion of that, Congressman?
This is, that wasn't what we went into, it wasn't on the original went to executives, committee of the whole, but it's an extension of what, of the financing. I think we should also,
Well, I said financial plan and proposed loan.
Congressman Baker.
But yeah, I think that it's very good that everybody wants to use caution in this huge plan. It involves a lot of money, a big loan. But we've been talking about this for several years now. And a lot of studies been made, assessments been made. We had the senior vice president of the Bank of Oklahoma here at the last Commerce Committee meeting, where he was allowed to speak. He got up and left because he didn't, I guess his time expired on the amount of time allotted for that meeting. I know he got up and left, and I went outside and talked to him and apologized that he wasn't allowed to speak at the meeting. He said he would come back. We've had several experts here on this matter already. I just hope that this, the committee and the Congress can finally make some kind of decision. I mean, how many studies are we going to have? I mean, when we have this new one, are we going to then finally be able to make a decision? That's all I'm looking for.
Congressman Pratt.
I just want to clarify that the baker didn't speak, but it's not because he wasn't allowed to speak. It's just, I think we sat here till 9 o'clock, after 9 o'clock that night, and he had to leave on his own, because he had something else going on. So, we all sat around and talked until 9 o'clock that night, and we just didn't get to it. And so that is another reason to not even jump into a decision, because we haven't heard from him. So, just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Congressman. Any more discussion? Congressman Supernault.
we have a Congress meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to put that other part, return on investment on the agenda, so we can discuss it more. By then, I will talk to Finley and Cook and got more information on maybe how we should proceed on that. So I'll put it on the agenda.
Congressman Daniels.
My plan after we get out of this committee of the whole is to make a motion and I'll have the legislative council formulate the motion of approval to hire these professionals. So anybody that wants input to legislative council about the wording of the motion, because I want it to be clear what we're hiring for.
Okay, thank you. Congressman Edwards.
Part 2.
Okay.
I spent some time reading the merit law. I think some others spent some time with me, trying to understand how our process is currently working, particularly with respect to salary ranges and ability to grant raises, and going back and rewriting job descriptions, and then going back and having a reanalysis of that job. And several things have caused me to believe that we need to understand what we're doing here. One is that we have these salary ranges that we set, and it's not a law. It just is a practice, I guess, and I'm not sure, or maybe it's a policy, but I believe Congress is approving those policies. And we're coming back with these ranges of salaries, and then one of that, anywhere in that range, I guess, someone's being offered a job. And then any time thereafter, based on what I understand, once you get the allotted number of signatures, anybody can get a raise. But maybe not everybody, but the people that ask for them, or some of the people that ask for them. This is what I've heard as a course of listening to committee meetings. Last year, if I understand it, in FY15, even though we did the market survey, I believe in FY14, maybe, is that correct? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. We did the market survey, we added $1 million, I know that, to salaries. And then I understand that almost a third of our workforce ended up getting a raise in FY15. So I'm looking at the economy going out, I don't recall in the economy what changed that we would be so far off. And maybe it's not that we're off, it's just that that's the way that everybody's entitled now to get a raise in addition to a merit bonus every year. That's not what I thought we were doing when we created this market survey, but maybe it is. But the other thing that concerns me is I happened to look at a document that was sent over in justification of a raise this year. And the document was for a job that's unique, I think. Well, I know it's unique. And it has a title that I could look in other markets, and in fact, the survey looked in other markets to see what the range of salary was. Now, one of the things I know is that we're currently using a range of 500 to 1,000 employees in metropolitan areas in Oklahoma. And we're using, it says we're using government, nonprofit, and education type of jobs. Well, when I looked at that and I saw what the job is making for our nation, and then I looked and saw what the comparable job would be if you worked for the city of Tulsa, and what the comparable job would be if you worked for the city of Oklahoma City, which are 3,500 and 5,000 plus employees respectively. And then I looked to see what the salary range was. It was over double what those people in the city of Oklahoma City and the city of Tulsa are making. In other words, that salary survey justified paying over double what that same position would pay in the city of Oklahoma City and the city of Tulsa. And I find something wrong with that. I cannot believe that the same position in the Osage Nation in Paducah, Oklahoma would be double what someone in the city of Oklahoma City or the city of Tulsa doing the same job would pay. So that leads me to believe that we need to look and understand what we're doing. Because if a full third of our workforce is getting job increases every year, and in fact, I've had a comment from some people that was, well, we didn't know we could ask for raises. Well, if we would have known that, we will. I mean, we're back to the problem that we have had all along, which is we need to figure out what the right pay is for someone whose job is to perform service for the Osage people, to provide service to the Osage people. And if service numbers are shrinking, which I believe you will see that they are this year, if we're providing less service to the people, why do our salaries keep going up? I think we need to explore that, so I'd like to hire I'd like the Congress to hire someone to look at those issues.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Assistant Chief Rainwater.
When we get off mic, I'd like specifics on that position so we can check your facts. Please.
You send it to us, and I would be happy to get it back.
Just need to know which one it is. We are taking a lot of effort and time in the executive branch to show Congress what the facts are. Very preliminarily, we're taking these pictures from an HR perspective, from a budgetary perspective. So a few days of several people's labor in the HR department and PAs and several people's labor in the accounting department are being expended to get some factual numbers for the Congress. I have seen the HR perspective, and we come over with the accounting perspective probably tomorrow. But the mantra of a third of all employees getting raises, I don't think it's true. I'm doing this from memory, so I'm hoping to write down to exact numbers. But if a third of all the employees in the nation got raises, that would be 178 people. The numbers we're getting is more like 27 got raises. And then it's possible that another number in the 20s got increases because their job descriptions changed. Because of salary adjustments, some of it because some of these other numbers. So we'll get the full picture and we'll deliver it in writing. And then Congress will have some very specific numbers to look at from our side. I think that's all I have to say at this point.
Congresswoman Edwards.
Well, a lot of this is because of the way the laws, the reason I'm asking for this is because of the way the law is written. And if you go and look back at the law and the way we wrote it, and I had a hand in that, so I take responsibility for my part. When you go and read the law, part of it doesn't make any sense. And it contemplated things that have not come to pass. And it also contemplates some policies and procedures which are not being adhered to. So I just think we need to go back and understand what we're doing and get a fresh set of eyes on it. It's not a criticism of the way the executive branch is carrying out the law. It's a criticism of the law itself, which the legislative branch is responsible for, and perhaps the unintended consequences. Now, the number I was given is 158. And I checked yesterday with the chief of staff on whether there was a list this year, because I know it's been asked for, and I keep hearing we've asked for it, and I understand that the HR department did not maintain a list of the number of increases that were in, how many employees were requesting a salary increase. And I asked the chief of staff, and he didn't have that yesterday. So I think between looking at the HR department, the accounting department, and the chief's office, and not having the response from any of those three people, then I don't know that we have kept track of that. So I think all those numbers are important to understand whether the system is actually functioning as intended and as the law contemplates. And I think I know the law needs revision. So this is not punitive in any way, but it needs to happen, I think, and I can't imagine the executive branch would be uncomfortable with it because it's just trying to better the system.
Assistant Chief Record.
I really wish more members of Congress had taken the opportunity that the Speaker and Congressman Supernaut took to visit with the head of HR. He made some, I didn't go, I revisited it with him. He made some really valid points. I think he used an example of where do you think wages are higher, Buffalo, New York, or McPherson, Kansas? And the answer is not Buffalo, New York. The answer is McPherson, Kansas. And the reason is small towns have to pay more to get people to either commute an hour to get here from Tulsa or somewhere else, or they have to pay more to get people to move to a very small community with not a lot of amenities, no movie theaters, I can go on and on. It costs, labor costs more, experienced labor costs more in small communities. It's getting fact now. We can go check out your numbers and see if it's double, but it's not insignificant. It's not insignificant what you have to pay someone to come here. So I pledge to Congress that we'll get you accurate numbers from the HR perspective, accurate numbers from the budgetary perspective, comparing FY FY15 budgets we submitted or got approved, and the 16 budgets. We'll have a much clearer picture, I think, of net numbers going in. And we'll get, I hope to have those by the end of the day. I've got 12 people that I cannot function without that are giving me a lot of really good support. I'm going to give them a shout out right now. There's 3 or 4 in accounting, there's my personal staff, there's Mr. Zahn, several other people, mid-level accountants that are jumping and helping when we need. And I've worked here long enough to anticipate or try to anticipate what Congress is going to ask. So we're saying this probably for the 15th time. We're here to provide the information you need as best we can, and we will. Appreciate that.
Well, I'd just like to reiterate what Congresswoman Edwards said. Ever since we've received the budgets, we've started going through them and pulling them apart. That's been one of my focuses, is what's happening in our salary and wages line, because there is an increase in that. And I've started looking at our HR, how our HR policies are functioning and how the law does function with that. So I agree with Congresswoman Edwards. We need a good thorough review on how we can fix this problem legislatively, because salaries keep inflating and going up and up and up. And I do have to say here, when we started reviewing the budgets before this session started, I started requesting information on salaries, wages, and employment and where the raises were. I appreciate the work that the executive is doing in accounting all the way across the line, but I feel like we could have avoided this choke down period right here had the requests been taken seriously when we first started trying to do this work in this congressional body. I needed to make that statement. So, is there any more discussion to this? Congressman Superman.
I would like to say that meeting that you referred to, a few of us, Scott Johnson. I have got great confidence in Scott Johnson as HR director. He's had a lot of experience. And he's an honest man. Maria, you may want to expand on this, but it just seems to me that he had a problem even explaining why some people in some departments doing the exact same thing got vastly different salaries. And he didn't say this. That's just me. It might be, it appeared to me that he didn't have the independence he should have. That was mine. That's where I left that.
Congresswoman Edwards.
Again, my comments and concerns are with the law as written and the way the law is being applied and the holes in the law, so that when you want to find out how does this work, you go to the law and look for it, it's not there. And then you have to go to the policies and procedures, and then you have to go call a meeting, and then you have to request documentation. I mean, I want to be able to look at the law and see what, and look at the definitions and understand how it works. That's my goal.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Any more discussion on this topic? Seeing none, are we ready to come out of the committee of the whole? Second. The motion is second by Congresswoman Buffalo. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We are out of the committee of the whole, and we are in motions notices still. Congresswoman Edwards.
Move to request that Legislative Council formulate a motion to present to Congress tomorrow on hiring professional to undertake, he's got my piece of paper, the 2 matters that were discussed. Can you read those 2 things?
A professional to review the financial plan and proposed loan in the 2016 annual plan of operations
Yes. And then the second. What do I have to?
to a professional to review the HR compensation survey process to support range of salary and raises
And the current law.
and the current law.
Yes.
Is there a second? Congressman Supernaw seconded. Discussion. Congressman Walker.
So that motion includes both of those, or not? We can't vote for one and not the other?
The motion is to have legal counsel formulate a motion for us for tomorrow. Two motions. So, motion's only to have legal counsel formulate the motions. Then tomorrow, you can decide whether you want to vote on the motions or not.
So you want your motion to specify that it's two separate motions for two separate issues?
Yes.
Any more discussion to the motion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Still motions and notices. Congressman Nathan.
Adjourn to tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn till tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We're adjourned.